Hi there, Jason from English Raven here, and this is Grammar Golf card number 7. And what you need to do is look at those words in each column and try to make a sentence using them. A good, accurate sentence in English. Now, there are two possible sentences that you could find on this card, so good luck with that. All you need to do is press pause in a moment, write down one or two sentences that you think are possible, and then we'll check the answer together. So are you ready? Okay, press pause and try to write down your sentence. Okay, let's see what you came up with. The first sentence I'm going to look at is about weather. Alright, so let's first circle this word weather, and we always say the weather. Alright, we don't say our weather, and we certainly can't say she weather, him weather. It's the weather, and we never usually say at all our weather. That is just not used in English. So the weather, the weather are, no, because there's only one weather. The weather works, not really. The weather was. The weather was, well, there's only one weather word in this column, and that's warm. So the weather was warm, and because we said was, well, we can't say tomorrow. That would be the weather is going to be warm tomorrow, but we've got the weather was warm yesterday. Okay, now you couldn't say the weather was warm a hospital, the weather was warm horses. They just don't make any sense at all. Now, it is possible to say the weather wasn't warm yesterday, but people don't usually talk about what the weather wasn't like yesterday. They normally talk about what the weather was like yesterday. So it's much more likely or common to hear the weather was warm yesterday. So that's our first sentence. Now let's look at another sentence we could make using this card, and we're going to focus on this word the nurse here, and we need to say a nurse. Now you could say the nurse, but it's probably more likely in this sentence to say a nurse. A nurse was, that's possible, but a nurse works. A nurse works. Where does a nurse work? A nurse works in, well, not in a horse, not in tomorrow. A nurse works in a hospital. Now, it is possible to say a nurse was in a hospital, but that the grammar is okay, but it's a very unusual thing to say. And you could also say the nurse works in a hospital, but we don't really know who that nurse is. So we're just talking in general about what nurses do. A nurse works in a hospital. You could also say a nurse was warm yesterday, but again, the grammar is okay, but I don't think I would ever hear anybody say that a nurse was warm yesterday. It's possible, but the meaning is there, but I just don't think many people would say that sentence. So I'm looking at what is more common, or what you're likely to hear people say in English. So a nurse works in a hospital. What does a nurse do? A nurse works in a hospital. And how was the weather yesterday? Well, the weather was warm yesterday. So there's our two ideas for sentences. This is Jason from English Raven, and I hope you got at least one of those sentences. And keep trying with your grammar golf, and keep learning English. Good luck with it.